Welcome back to the coverage of YCS London. You have seen both players are already sitting at the table. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. For those of you who have just tuned in, I want to congratulate you. It's the very best of times to, well, look at that channel, right?
Yeah.
It's the one match of the day, of the week. And in fact, I feel like the gloves should be coming off.
Oh, it's happening again, isn't it?
Yes, it is absolutely happening again. Because it's time to duel. It's the finals. Marcello Barberi from Italy going into the last round. And he had to win to lock up his spot in the top 32. Ends up on top 33rd place. Just one place short of making it. And then one player gets knocked out because there was an erroneous result. He's the 32nd player. Makes it in. Beats Patrick Reeder, who has been dropping a match all weekend long. And he's now going up against Domenic Barowski, the only player out of all the guys in the top 4 that we haven't had on our stream the whole weekend.
Yeah, this guy, Domenic, has managed to evade the camera the entire time. Marcello, the luckiest man in the tournament, and he's now sitting here on the final table. He's guaranteed he's going to get a copy of Ascension Sky Dragon.
Yes.
He's got the game mat, and right now he wants a title. He's hungry.
And he definitely is
He
hungry.
means business. As we've seen him on the stream, this is his third time on the stream. And I think we're actually going to head over to the table right now.
So let's take a look. Yes, and this time you guys are going to have sound, so no worries here. There's an eye of truth telling you this is the moment of truth.
And I don't know, I feel like there's something you need to say for this round.
It all comes down to this.
There it is.
All right. So we're about to get started. You can see that Marcello is somewhat tense, which is not too surprising because he has been here before and not just once. Marcello is, he came very close at the European Championship, if I'm not all too mistaken. Let's take a quick look here. He was the top 8 player in the European Championship, and this is what counts the most in that tournament.
Yeah, that's the last round to decide whether or not you are going to represent Europe at the World Championships. And losing that match is the toughest pill to swallow in terms of a Yu-Gi-Oh finish.
Yes, because, well, like you said, you're not going to attend the World Championship, which could be taking place in a lovely city like Rimini.
Yeah, Rimini was absolutely lovely. The food was great. I still wish we were there.
All right. So both these players are getting some last instructions from the head judge.
They need you to watch your low blows and your kidney punches. If you fall down, you need to get up and go to the corner that I tell you.
Exactly.
It's not quite like that, but you know. Battling boxers, if someone's playing that, I would have to tell them that as before the final match.
All right. So our judges are explaining to these guys, please don't draw a card and play it right away. I mean, that's usually not too much of a problem. It's just because we want to be able to take down what you have been drawing into. And
yeah, so we can actually talk it through and keep you guys following. If your opponent, if one of the players just draws and chucks a card face down, we'll be like, we don't know what that is. You won't know what it is. So to keep it enjoyable for everybody involved, they're just being instructed sort of how the guys in the background will be tracking their cards.
Right. In case you are trying to kill some more time, there's always the written coverage for you guys, where we have the top 8 profiles, so you can get a better idea of what these guys are thinking, what they went through preparing for this tournament. In fact, Domenic is pointing out in his top 8 profile, Chaos Sorcerer has been proving key.
Yeah, I can see Chaos Sorcerer being incredibly good. He's already playing Blackluster Soldier. He's only allowed to play 1 copy of that card. He's elected to not play the Dark Arm Dragons. He's just gone for a single copy of Chaos Sorcerer. The ability to attack over a window if you need to. You can banish the Shaddoll fusions.
Yes.
It can be your 1 special summon for the turn and answer either of those cards. It doesn't use a chain when it's summoned, so it doesn't fall prey to Vanity's Emptiness.
The list goes on and on and on.
And it's a spellcaster in case you need it for a particular fusion. He's playing 2 copies of Effect Veiler, so he's got access to Arcanite Magician. I believe Arcanite Magician's level 7, otherwise I've just embarrassed myself.
Well, he's running it in his extra deck, so it wouldn't be too surprising if that works out. On the other end, we have Marcello, who is testing together with other players like Joshua Schmidt, and he's running a very similar deck of what Joshua was running at the YCS Madrid, which took place like just 6 short weeks ago. So now we're live with the match. You can see Marcello holding on to 2 copies of Shaddoll Fusion. His field is Shaddoll Core, Sinister Shadow Games, and Artifact Sanctum. He's missing a monster, not just one.
Yeah, he's got the Sinister Shadow Games, but he's not going to be getting maximum value out of it. For example, with a Falco Beast combo with that Shaddoll, Sinister Shadow Games, sorry. So, yeah, Marcello, while he's not going to get steamrolled because he has the Artifact Sanctum as protection, he can also defend himself with the Shaddoll Core for a while. It's not the best hand he could be going with.
No. Speaking, well, best hand, not quite, but definitely closer to what Marcello has. Domenic holds onto a Moraltar. Well, not a card you want to draw into. You want to special summon it from your deck most of the time. But he also got an Armageddon Knight, Shaddoll Beast, Effect Veiler, Vanity's Emptiness, and Shaddoll Falco. That Armageddon Knight is interesting. It's a dark monster. Makes sense in his deck with the Chaos Sorcerer and the Blackluster Soldier.
I'm genuinely wondering if he should have maybe started with the Armageddon Knight to test the water with, because he would have been able to summon it and still send the same cards. But if Artifact Moraltech is played to destroy the Armageddon Knight, I don't know, you're not losing the draw effect from Mathematician. Perhaps I'm overthinking it. But I don't know. I believe he could have started with Armageddon Knight, unless his opponent then followed up with Mathematician, and then that would be bad. So I'm going to trust these guys know what they're doing.
Yep. So this is Marcello's field after that activation here. And his new draw is a monster, indeed, and it's a Mathematician, which is...
Yeah, that's a play that would have made my play considerably worse.
There we go. And an Effect Veiler, also a card we haven't seen this weekend very often.
Yeah, it's it was a it's a card that just seems to sway in and out of being incredibly popular. But that Effect Veiler is going to be able to shut down the Mathematician to keep Marcello from sending Squamata, Falco, which then pairs with the Sinister Shadow Games, which will send Beast and all the rest of it.
Right, so here are the face-down cards that Domenic controls, and his hand, after he draws, Armageddon Knight, Shaddoll Beast, Effect Veiler, Shaddoll Falco, and now a 5th card that we're going to add in just a second. It's a Wiretap. He's playing, well, not unique cards, but some interesting choices here, because sometimes you see a Wiretap, yes, but then it's less likely if somebody gives up a slot in their deck for a Effect Veiler as well. And he's running those two, and he's also running the Chaos Sorcerer, so he has some techs in his deck, in my opinion, some cards that you don't see every day.
I agree with you. Just setting a monster and the Wiretap. The Wiretap can stop the Sinister Shadow Games, and yeah, that works. I mean, the Shaddoll Fusion. He's just drawn Marcello's just drawn a Shaddoll Falco.
So things are improving slowly but steadily for Marcello here. Although we have seen this before, that he can also deal with tough situations in our feature match of the top 4.
Yeah, well, he's going to take a moment to consider his options here. He does have a fusion play open to him. Again, the fans, if you hear any clapping coming through this, they're watching on a bit of a delay behind us, so they're going to be reacting very, very late to...
yeah, so
well, they'll be probably in time when you watch this.
Yeah, pretty much. So this might be a little bit confusing, but I hope not too much. Most likely they were happy that there was a Mathematician that got things going for Marcello in the first place. All right, so what would be your play here? I mean, the Shaddoll Fusion, he doesn't really seem like good
if he
option.
plays the Shaddoll Fusion, he risks running it straight into Vanity's Emptiness.
So why would you do that exactly?
Well, he has a second fusion, so he might use it to get rid of the Vanities because he still has this attack open. But he's electing to just not do that. He's going to go for the safer. I'm going to just attack twice.
Yep.
No sense running anything in. I don't need to.
And also something you pointed out earlier today, you cannot activate 2 fusions in the very same turn.
Yes.
So, and it's not like the activation gets negated by Vanity's Emptiness. It only makes sure that the effect doesn't resolve.
Yeah, you do not get the special summon, but you still activate Shaddoll Fusion, so you can't just drop the second copy after you deal with the Vanity's Emptiness.
So Marcello setting the Shaddoll Falco. Does he have a target in his grave? I don't think so.
Oh, he still has the Sinister Shadow Games, so even if he doesn't have a Shaddoll...
Yeah, there we go. All right. Domenic, in the meantime, has drawn into Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. And with his Armageddon Knight in hand, he can easily fulfill the requirements for the special summon of that monster.
Yeah, well, he has the effect veiler that he used on Mathematician as the light part, and he's got a bunch of darks in his graveyard. So the Blackluster Soldier is a very viable play, and that's what we're going to see. Oliver, you definitely know what you're doing here. You totally called it.
Yeah, I've just seen it deciding a game earlier on, so every time I see a Blackluster Soldier, I'm always just like, oh, this card is going to decide the game. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, it's usually a safe bet. If you're gonna say one card is gonna swing the door, it's probably that guy. And okay, so this is where the Sinister Shadow Games is probably gonna get flipped.
Here we go. So you can also call the shots here. Sinister Shadow Games, one of the
wiretap.
Yeah, one of the very strong support cards for the Shaddoll archetype. And yeah, Blackluster Soldier opting to banish the face-down monster because both Moraltach and Mathematician are not proving much of a threat for Domenic here. So he just says, oh, well, I got all the time in the world. I don't mind not attacking this turn. And if I can disrupt your strategy and make sure you don't get that flip effect of Falco, even though there's no target at this point in time, that's going to serve me well.
Yeah, he may not have known that was a Falco. I think he hadn't seen that, so it could have just as easily been a Squamata or Dragon, which would have been able to get rid of the Blackluster Soldier. So instead of attacking and then risking his opponent having an answer to that, he just decides, I'm going to take that out immediately. But neither of your monsters match levels or deal with my Blackluster Soldier.
Right. So this is Dominic's field after that, minus the wiretap that just disappeared, and shuffled back the Sinister Shadow Games. Sinister Shadow Games, not like Solemn Warning, one of these cards that you mind drawing again later on. You can always get some use out of that.
Yeah, providing yourself monsters in your deck. Sinister Shadow Games will be useful to draw later on. Solemn Warning, as you rightly say, takes a chunk of your life points while it goes back into the deck.
So Domenic is left with just the Armageddon Knight in his hand here. And his field now also a Sinister Shadow Games and Artifact Sanctum are the two cards that he added here. So he's got quite some action going on and good ways to respond to his opponent's plays. And Marcello, in the meantime, draw into Artifact Sanctum. He's now flipping his Shaddoll Core.
Which is bizarrely a level 9 monster, actually, I believe.
Yes, let's see if we can read that. Yes, it is a level 9 monster. So, Vanity's Emptiness foiling that plan.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting situation that hasn't come up because it's a monster, it's a trap that special summons to the monster zone.
Yes.
Yeah, so now it just, the question is what actually happens to the Shaddoll Core. And the judge is going to take a quick look at that.
What is your ruling?
You know, this is one of the ones where I'd actually look it up.
Doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, it's a situation that hasn't come up. I wouldn't just blank say, hey, this is how it works.
No, well, I thought this did come up at some point, but yeah, I can totally...
It probably did, and that's why there would be something to check, but off the top of my head, All
right, so what are the options? Well, option one is Shaddoll Core cannot be special summoned as a monster, and for that reason, it gets sent to the graveyard. Yep. Doesn't seem very likely, to be honest, with it being a permanent trap card.
Yeah, as it's a continuous trap, it could just sit there like Call of the Haunted.
And not do anything for the rest of the game.
Which is, I think, the most likely outcome here. I'm pretty sure it's not just going to send to the graveyard.
Yes. And what I don't think is that if Vanity's... let's assume it would stay on the field. If Vanity's Emptiness gets negated at some later point in time, it wouldn't suddenly special summon a monster or become... You think it would become a monster?
It wouldn't just become a monster if Vanity's Emptiness leaves.
So most likely, and this seems to be the ruling here, it just stays on the field and it got turned upside down. This is often an indication of this card is not going to do anything for the rest of the time.
And I believe this is an appeal because I've just seen the judge walk over and start discussing with the head judge backstage.
But then again, it seemed like the match continued. Exactly.
So never mind.
Yeah, Mathematician was switched to defense position, so Marcello wouldn't take any damage in case the Blackluster Soldier would attack over it. Moraltach follows suit. He did set an Artifact Sanctum and now he passes. The interesting thing is Artifact Sanctum, such a good card, gives him access to Artifact Moraltach, but that is currently not possible because of the very crucial Vanity's Emptiness.
Yeah, this is Not so great for Marcello here, because that Blackluster Soldier can take out both of those monsters.
Unopposed. Completely.
Yeah, there's no response to it.
Yep.
And even the cards in Marcello's hand, he's got 2 fusions. If he does decide to use the Armageddonite, that may prove to be a bit of a mistake, because that's going to trigger the destruction effect of
Vanity's
Emptiness.
Yeah, that's a very interesting choice here, especially with a super polymerization also in hand. But maybe he is, well, betting that maybe he's even waiting for something like an Artifact Sanctum, and then he can use the special summoned monster, the Moral Tag, for the super polymerization. Although, no, he's got no hands in his hand.
He doesn't control a Shaddoll monster.
And also he doesn't have any more cards in his hand, so he fails to meet the requirements in 2 different ways.
I don't know if switching off that Vanity's Emptiness was the best thing. He could have summoned the Armageddonite and chose to not use the effect. I'm pretty sure it's an optional effect, Armageddonite.
Yes, it is an optional effect.
Yeah, so he's kind of allowed his opponent to play that Artifact Sanctum.
Normally you want to keep the Vanity's Emptiness when you're in a commanding position for as long as possible. And since he didn't really improve his position, because I would argue that Armageddonite is not much of an improvement when you have a Blackluster Soldier.
Yeah, it was just a bit of damage, but what he's actually done here is opened himself up to Blackluster Soldier being taken out. Armageddonite cannot destroy either of the Morale Attacks. They have 1400 defense, I believe. And then they can become Constellar Pleiades, which causes
even more problems for Domenic.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem to be the right play, I gotta say.
Yeah, because he just could have just not used the effect of Armageddonite there to switch off his own vanities.
And it seemed like he was in a, yeah, just rely on your Blackluster Soldier to tear your opponent apart. I mean, half the time your opponent is trying to get rid of that card as soon as possible, like right away. Marcello couldn't do that in his turn. He just sets a face-down card. So why do anything and get rid of your Vanity's Emptiness when you can just try to gain more advantage with your Blackluster Soldier?
Well, we'll see, because Dominic's not out of options, but I feel like he gave up a strong position there when he didn't necessarily need to. There's only 4,400 life points done on Domenic as well, but we know that Domenic has his own Artifact Sanctum, should Marcello try to
overextend or commit something to the field?
If he tries to commit like a number 61 Volcasaurus or a Constellar Pleiades, the Artifact Sanctum will be able to deal with it.
Yep.
Instead, he's going to play Shaddoll Fusion for a Shaddoll Construct.
So Marcello is now left with a compulsory evacuation device in his hand, and I believe a second copy of Shaddoll Fusion. He was the first player to commit to the Fusion summon, which is often very crucial in these matches. But there is a chance that he's going to push for game here.
Yeah, Dominic's super polymerization just come live because there's now a Shaddoll monster in play. He could make his own Winder. He would not be able to make a Construct because the Construct can only be either the light part or the Shaddoll part. So Dominic's options can change here.
Right, let's see. Marcello with the core that doesn't do anything. That might be like a little bit confusing, but Shaddoll core is not going to do anything. And a Moral Tag and a Construct on the field currently.
Yeah, he sends Hedgehog to the graveyard and adds a Shaddoll Beast to his hand.
Right.
Or was no. Okay, he's just set a monster face down. So maybe that wasn't. We didn't quite catch it because it was off shot. Which card got sent to the graveyard there?
So he definitely now has a Falco on his side of the field.
Yeah, it must have been Falco he sent to the graveyard to trigger it. Or did he just use Sinister Shadow Games?
No. He's
Okay.
still holding. Nope.
Okay, never
Right.
mind.
So let's make sure we are all on the same page again. Marcello has a Shaddoll Fusion, Compulsory, and Shaddoll Beast in his hand.
Oh, yeah, there's another option. He could use both his opponent's monsters for the super polymerization.
Yes, I think that's an even better option.
Yeah, that's so much better than what I was thinking, because he can now make a Construct because there's a light and a Shaddoll monster.
Right. So Domenic has now indicated that play and goes for that super polymerization, and he makes his own Construct.
Yep, and Marcello's already used his Shaddoll Fusion for this turn. He has 2 Shaddoll Fusions in his hand, but essentially these are blank cards until next turn. So Domenic actually coming out on top here from this fusion. Taking 2 of your opponent's monsters and giving yourself a monster is just one of the many reasons this card is limited.
Yes. And the interesting thing is, the question is, should Marcello have gone for the fusion summon? Like, if there wouldn't have been a fusion summon, his opponent wouldn't have had a target for, or wouldn't have one of the materials for his super polymerization.
Yeah, he could have switched the 2 morale attacks into attack mode and attacked, but then if his opponent flicks up an Artifact Sanctum, they take out one of your morale attacks, they have one in attack mode, then you basically give your opponent the option to trade. In which case, Marcello wouldn't have traded. I don't know, the fusion is... It let him send cards from his deck to the graveyard and set up future plays. For example, we've got a Falco face down, which can get back a construct when it's flipped.
You say it let him send cards from his deck to the graveyard. He didn't get it for free, right?
It was the construct effect that when it's fusion summon, sends a card from his deck to the graveyard.
Yeah, you mean it this way, yeah. So it was a hefty investment, actually. Domenic holding on to Burst Rebirth and Shaddoll Dragon here. This is his field again. Moraltach, you might be wondering, why is there a monster not on the field? Well, that's set in the spell and trap card zone. That's the effect of the artifact monsters. And the 2 monsters he does control are Armageddon Knight and El Shaddoll Construct. Now flipping the Sinister Shadow Games.
Okay, so he's sending his own Shaddoll Falco to the graveyard, which will activate and return to the field.
So what's his plan here?
He's setting himself up for a little bit later, because the Falco he can't use his turn because he's already used its effect. He's also doing this before his battle phase, which is interesting. So he's got a Shaddoll Dragon in hand.
Did he do it at the end of his opponent's?
It might have been at the end of his opponent's turn, actually.
That's most likely, because he
because he just played the super polymerization in his opponent's turn. So yeah, that's his end phase.
He did draw a card, and that is Artifact Sanctum. That are the 2 cards in his hand, Shaddoll Dragon and the Artifact Sanctum. In case you forgot about it, Marcello holds on to Shaddoll Beast and Shaddoll Fusion. So let's get back to Domenic here. He's checking his face down cards, Artifact Sanctum and an Armageddon Knight. So he has already run through 1 copy of Moraltach, or more than 1? I'm not 100% sure, but he's got 1 Sanctum on the field, 1 in his hand, and there's a chance that he's running out of targets in his deck.
This has happened before. There's only 3 Moraltach in...
Those are all of his targets. So with 1 gun, if he draws any more Sanctums, those are going to be dead cards. Because of the way that he built his deck. This is something to really keep in mind when you're building your deck. It's not like when you're running 3 Sanctums and 3 Moraltachs that you're always going to draw those 3 Sanctums before those 3 Moraltachs.
Yeah, it never always goes according to plan, like many things in life. The way the cards come out of the deck is certainly one of those things that can be random.
Right, so now we have an attack. There we go. An attack on Marcello's Falco. And then Domenic concludes his turn by adding his own Falco.
Okay.
There's 1 card missing here. Yeah, there we go. This is his field at the moment. And he doesn't have any cards in hand. So those are...
He's all in on this.
Yes. Right, so back to Marcello, who plays his Shaddoll Fusion. He has a Trap Stun in hand. That's the card he just drew. His opponent does have a monster special summon from the extra deck, so his Shaddoll Fusion right now is free, so to speak. He doesn't have to invest any cards from his side of the field or from his hand. He can instead use materials from his deck, and that makes all the difference.
Yeah, and these 2 cards he's sending from his deck are potentially have, if he goes for the window, could be 2 Shaddoll monsters triggering, or he could just go for Construct, get Construct trigger, his Shaddoll trigger, and also command a very powerful monster. He sends Squamata, which will have the ability to send another card to the graveyard after this chain is resolved.
So he's really thinning out his deck here. And that means that he will draw into more cards that will actually help him that he doesn't want to draw into. He's going to get rid of all those tiny monsters that he doesn't want to draw into. Or, well, a Moraltach, because you don't want to draw into it when you already activated all your ignitions.
Yeah, if you've already used all of your Sanctums,
Yeah, Sanctums, of course, yes.
there's very little use to a Morale Attack unless you're playing the Double Cyclone or the Artifact Ignitions, which we know that Marcello is not. So he's either deciding Fleece or... yeah, it's either Fleece or Morale Attack.
Yeah, and Marcello has been pondering over this. These are his two options. Well,
Oh, okay, he's sending two... He's going to go for Winder if he sends the Beast to the graveyard. So he gets Winder and he draws a card.
all right, there we go. So
he does have a level 5 and a level 2, and one of those is a tuner. So he could try and go for Black Rose Dragon if he really wanted to.
well, yes, but he would also lose a lot of cards. I mean, his opponent is fully committed to the field, so if he could blow up the field here, him having still a Trapstun and a Shaddoll Beast in hand, not the best cards to sport a comeback after the field was blown up, but definitely better than nothing, which would be the case for Domenic. So let's see which path is Marcello going to take here. So here's the Winder, another. We can have that on the app in just. Winder is the second so-called boss monster in Marcello's deck. It doesn't have as much attack as the Construct, so it seems a little bit less threatening, but it's a lot more disruptive than Construct, to be honest, because it prevents you from special summoning more than one monster per turn. It also cannot be destroyed by card effects, which some people failed to realize, activating their bottomless trap holes on it.
Yeah, that doesn't work out so well.
Well, we don't expect to see that in the finals. So Marcello did draw a Solemn Warning, still up on 8,000 life points, so he's not going to mind activating that card. And he's still resolving another Surge effect. This is really a lot of thinning out here.
Yeah.
So let's take you back to Dominic's field with the set Moraltach, set Sanctum, and also set second copy of Sanctum. Those are his back row, and his monsters you can see are, well, all the cards with stats basically, apart from the one Moraltach. So we're still waiting for Winder on our app, but I hope that's not too confusing for you guys, and you are familiar with the card. Currently, Marcello is...
He needs to commit to a play. This is... Okay, so his opponent was waiting for a response.
Yeah, so his opponent is going for Artifact Sanctum.
To take out the Shaddoll Falco, which will prevent a Synchro Summon, because, as we mentioned before, a Black Rose Dragon would sweep the field. There would be a bunch of effects activating, but then Marcello has that Solemn Warning as a backup.
Not yet, because it's in his hand.
Yeah, but if he sweeps the field, then sets the warning.
After that, yes, absolutely. So suddenly he has a pretty good hand here. And the Sanctum is getting sent to the graveyard with, after it special summoned a Moraltach. So far on the left, I almost didn't see it. Here we go. And when Moraltach is special summoned, it can destroy a face-up card. So the target here is, of course, the Winder. We finally got that one for you guys.
Well, it can't... It is not a targeting effect, and he can't destroy the Winder.
Yeah, so that's definitely not the target, and this is probably why Marcello didn't really mind that.
Yeah, I mean, the card he's going to lose here, Shaddoll Falco, he can't take out the Winder, and he doesn't want to take away the Shaddoll Core, because that'll just give a free card back to Marcello. So, yeah, Marcello's considering his response to this.
And he's bouncing his own Falco, which... Since he hasn't normal summoned this turn, am I correct in that?
I don't believe he has. No, he is.
I think he started with a Shaddoll Fusion.
Yeah.
So he should be able to still normal summon this turn, and that normal summon allows him to bring Falco back to the field. I think that's what we're going to see next.
Interesting. It looks like. Did Domenic use the effect of Morale Attack to destroy Shaddoll Core? Pretty sure he could have just... It's an optional effect. He could have just chose to not destroy anything and not give his opponent anything back. Or he could have just selected the Winder, and it wouldn't have destroyed anything.
So Winder now attacking over something. That is the Falco.
And here,
And then in main phase 2,
it's the Black Rose.
it's the Black Rose Dragon, a card we haven't seen for quite a while, but even though it's white and that indicates a synchro monster, it's still as viable as it's ever been.
Merry Christmas, Domenic.
And
all your cards go in the graveyard.
while Domenic did have a response in another Artifact Sanctum that allows him to special summon Artifact Moral Tech, which in turn takes down the Black Rose Dragon.
The Black Rose destroys
itself, yeah. So Domenic does have some sort of a field, but with some sort I mean one Moral Tech, and that's it. Marcello is sitting in the driver's seat in a very, very commanding position.
And he just went in set in his back row Solemn Warning, so he has an answer to any kind of summon that Domenic could come out with. Yes. He can take the 2100 from the Morale Tech. That's not going anywhere.
Exactly. He's not under a lot of pressure here. Well, Domenic did draw into a Vanity's Emptiness, so he has a way to foil Marcello's plan if he wants to attempt a fusion summon or a special summon of any sort. But, well, let's see what options Marcello is holding on to here. He's got a Shaddoll Beast, Shaddoll Dragon, Shaddoll Falco, and the Shaddoll Fusion. And I'm not even sure if that involves the card he just drew. No, it doesn't, because he also has
a Foolish Burial he just drew.
Foolish Burial, yes. Which is, well, the key unlocking the door of this whole toolbox that is the Shaddoll deck. So here's Shaddoll Core, bringing back the level 9 monster, and Vanity's Emptiness is not getting activated because there is no reason for Domenic to commit to that play here, is there?
Yeah, if he does that, it's going to give Marcello free information, and he's not going to throw his fusion, which Domenic knows Marcello has that fusion because Domenic essentially gave it to Marcello. We're going to see the Vanity's Emptiness being flipped on the fusion, and Trap Stun being chained.
Yes. So
he uses the core, which you can use as any attribute monster.
Is that after?
This is the problem.
The question is Trap Stun and core. This is the interaction here.
Yeah.
So
if it's negated, it can't be a monster.
It's not. Yeah. So it should just be a trap card for the time being, but it should come back as a monster, shouldn't it?
No, I don't think it gets re-special summoned if it's negated.
So for the second time in this match, we have a Shaddoll Core that's just lying around not doing anything.
Yes.
Something unique here. But now Domenic's Vanity's Emptiness is not holding Marcello back, and with this hand that he has, he can still come up with something.
Yeah, I mean, even if he fuses just using the Shaddoll Beast and Dragon in his hand, he's okay with that.
Even his worst case scenario is putting him ahead.
Okay, the judges are discussing how to resolve that issue.
Yeah, so again, we have the question, what happens with a Shaddoll Core and some negating effect? It seems like we should have been... Oh, this seems to be our head charge, Pascal. And
yeah, he's explaining that the card is just negated.
Yes, and that was the Italian hand gesture for negated. A lot of looking like...
So if I use that next time I'm in a restaurant,
exactly.
I'll be like, this pasta is negated.
Yes, pretty much. If it's looking like you're cleaning a windshield or something, that is the Italian gesture for effect is negated. All right. So it stays face up in the spell and trap card zone. We have worked that one out, and here it is. The winner after a fusion summon. Yes, there we go. So Foolish Burial still in Marcello's hand. He did use his other two monsters together with his Shaddoll Fusion. Now he has a monster that can attack over Moral Tech. And the stream, the background noise that you might be hearing just now is the 3-minute delay, which was the Black Rose Dragon that just blew up the field of Domenic. I'm pretty certain of that. So here's winner, some triggers, Shaddoll Fusion getting added back to Marcello's hand. So he is sitting in a very comfortable and commanding position here.
Yeah, after this attack goes over, Domenic has nothing. Yeah, and he's competing with a Solemn Warning. And Solemn Warning with 8,000 life points, which is just an outright answer to anything.
Yes.
Domenic is going to try to do, apart unless he draws a monster and just sets it straight onto the field.
It's not quite a Solemn Judgment, which can negate anything your opponent is throwing at you. But when you're in this position and the only card that your opponent can really throw at you and can get you into troubles is a monster. Solemn Warning is as good or even better with 8,000 life points than a Solemn Judgment.
Yes.
Thinking about that? Yes, I think you're right. All right.
2,000 life points are less than 4,000.
That is definitely correct. So here we go with Marcello pushing for some more damage. Vanity's Emptiness is not leaving the field just now because of Trap Stun.
Trap Stun, yes.
So Trap Stun is still active, so there is a chance that
Oh,
Domenic is actually hindering himself with his own card. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, they're going to find over next turn that Domenic is going to have to face down his own Vanity's Emptiness against his opponent's established field.
Yes.
That's an excellent catch on the Trap Stun.
Yes, and that is playing a role. Let's see what Domenic draws here. A monster, and he sets it right away. I'm not even sure if the judge had time to check it. No, he didn't. So he now takes a look, and we will know in just a second. Did you catch it?
I didn't see which monster it is, but that is the only play that was available to him.
Yes, he didn't waste any time here. So it is a Shaddoll Squamata. Here we go.
Squamata, it destroys a monster when it's flip summoned. That cannot destroy the window. If it destroys the dragon, the dragon will take out the Vanity's Emptiness.
If Domenic wants to take it out, that's a question here.
Yeah, he might choose to just leave it up because he has control of the field.
Yes, so Domenic now activating his Foolish Burial. He still has a Shaddoll Fusion in hand. And one more card that he drew into, that is a monster. And he just drew another card for the beast that he set to the graveyard. He's got a Wiretap in hand. Here you go. That can... now he has an answer to an opposing monster. And with the Wiretap, he has an answer to an opposing trap card. Things are getting better and better for Marcello here.
Yeah. I'm struggling to see how Domenic is going to get back into this game, honestly. Because his only play there that he could make without being interrupted by Solemn Warning was setting a monster. I mean, there's no trap cards that he has that was going to... Well, it was going to be very difficult for him to actually deal with all of the monsters his opponent has with any of the trap cards he has in his deck.
Yep. So depending on which monster Marcello uses to attack, well, he never has lethal because Squamata can just take out the other attacker apart from Winda, of course. So he is just going to try to avoid taking as much damage as possible, I think. So taking out the dragon with 1,900 seems like the better option when the other option is a mathematician.
Interesting that Marcello decided to attack with the Winda. As we saw earlier, any level 4 or lower Shaddoll monster will not be able to stand up to a mathematician attack.
Yes.
So he could have attacked with mathematician and got more damage in,
yep.
But it didn't matter in the end.
In the end,
Domenic goes, Shaddoll Fusion, and Marcello's like, Solemn Warning.
Solemn Warning, yeah, there we go. We telegraphed that one, and it was pretty easy to see. So Marcello taking the first game in convincing fashion.
Yeah, I can't help but feel Domenic threw that away a little bit early on in the game when he had the Vanity's Emptiness and the Blackluster Soldier.
Yes.
And he played that Armageddon Knight, and he didn't need to use the effects. And he sent away his own Vanity's Emptiness, and his opponent was then able to get back in with the Morale tag. So, you know, had he not done that, Marcello would have been taking a lot of damage and forced into an uncomfortable position to handle the Blackluster Soldier. He had no way of dealing with it at that time.
But also we got to give credit to Marcello for, well, identifying that one play that really put him that far ahead with the Black Rose Dragon wiping the complete field, which actually just cost him like 3 cards or 2 cards, and his opponent costing like 6 cards.
Yeah, he just said, okay, if this goes through, I'm almost certain to win, and that's exactly what happens.
Yes. So we are just being told that we only have a little bit of time left in the round, it seems. There are just 6 minutes on the clock because that first game took quite a while, especially with of course, the interactions with the judges, when a judge double checks if something was played correctly, doesn't subtract any time from the clock because we're just playing more time in the end. We just get extra time for that. However, both players are perfectly aware of that there's only so much time remaining, and they now have to, well, different side decking strategy.
Yeah, well, there's 3 minutes in siding, and then that probably leaves 3 minutes into the duel before we go to end of match procedure.
Yeah, so
And I know that can be a bit controversial with some players for our finals that we do have end of match procedure, but this is something that applies in policy across all stages of the tournament, and it's how the tournament formats were decided. The players are aware of this. It'll be interesting to see how their play styles change, knowing that this end is coming.
yes, so with just a little time left in the round, both of these are shuffling at the moment, so they are done accessing the side. Oh, it seems like Marcello is almost done here. And, well, with so much time in the first game, I mean, there are going to be some different decisions. For example, normally we say Raigeki is not very good against Shaddolls. If you can suddenly push in one turn and dish out a lot of damage, Raigeki is a lot better than usually.
Yeah. In this particular case, even if your opponent claims some effects, if you just sweep, as you said, sweep them aside, punch through a bunch of damage, set your Vanity's Emptiness so your opponent can't get the same damage back, you can win the game that way if it goes to end of match procedure. For all we know, Domenic might just go draw his 5 cards and say Exodia, and we go to game 3. It's unlikely because I haven't seen Exodia on Dominic's deck list, but
stranger things have happened. Well, one card that will get sided out most likely is Solemn Warning, I think.
Yeah, giving up life points with the clock ticking is not... Yeah, you can win the game off of it, but more cases than not, you pay the 2,000, your opponent walls up, and then you can't get any damage through, and you lose because you've put a 2,000 life point deficit between you.
Also, Domenic is running 2 copies of Burst Rebirth. That's also not a card that I expect to see in that second and a possible third game.
Yeah, those cards would be coming out. The Solemn Warning would be coming out most likely. I'm just trying to think of what would come in here.
All right, so here we have the first few cards in Marcello's hand here for the second duel. A Shadow Squamata, Riser the Storm Monarch, Super Polymerization, Mathematician. One more card that we're going to see in just a second, Artifact Moraltach. Dominic's hand is waiting, just taking a little bit longer to load. He already committed to his opening. Here we go. This is his opening hand, and he most likely set the Shaddoll Squamata. There we go. Together with Vanity's Emptiness and an Artifact Sanctum.
That's a very strong start.
So Marcello is kicking things off with a Mathematician, providing him with access to all of those Shaddoll cards that will then trigger in the graveyard.
He actually goes for Fleece.
Fleece is not a Shaddoll card. It's a Lightsworn monster, and those do something when they are being sent from the deck to the graveyard, or at least some of them do.
Yeah, Fleece gets special summon if she's sent to the graveyard by a monster effect. You can take a look for yourself. She's a tuner, and you can send her to the graveyard to destroy. Is it a monster or just a face-up card? And you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. It's a monster.
One monster your opponent controls. Destroy the card, then send the top 3 cards. So we're not quite sure if Marcello is activating that effect. I don't think that is the case. However, in any case, Domenic immediately going for Artifact Sanctum here, shutting down his opponent's, well, possible Synchro Summon here.
Yeah. I imagine he's probably going to... Oh, he does take out the Fleece.
Yeah.
Because then the Fleece... if he takes out the Mathematician, the Fleece then just takes out the Moraltach and sends the top 3 cards to the graveyard.
Yeah, so why would you want that? So the Mathematician then attacking into Shaddoll Squamata, and both monsters bite the dust. So Marcello now has quite a few options to set here, and he does. So let's take a look at his field. Compulsory and a Super Polymerization. Domenic does have a Black Luster Soldier, Majesty's Fiend, and Artifact Sanctum. Another Sanctum, very strong here. And with a Moraltach on the field and the Vanity's Emptiness, he's sitting in a pretty good position here.
Yes. Vanity's Emptiness is very, very good. He's tributing for Majesty's Fiend, so no effects can be used by Marcello. Marcello does have a compulsory evacuation device, which he can use to just get rid of that Majesty's Fiend. So that Majesty's Fiend not quite as threatening as it could be. And I believe time is coming very, very close.
Yeah, it's just now we had like 2 minutes, and now it's going to be like either 1 minute, or we might already be in any second now. We might be in the timeout. So let's see. Marcello drew into a Vanity's Emptiness, and since his opponent already special summoned That's not exactly what he wants, no, is it?
The Vanity's Emptiness is difficult for him because he does have his own super polymerization, which he might want to capitalize off of. Okay, it's being explained. Or an arrow is being pointed.
All right. So still, you can see on the on the right-hand side, excuse me, Marcello's hand and his field again is super polymerization and compulsory evacuation device. So he's shuffling through the cards in his hand, and now he commits to a play, which is a set Shaddoll Squamata.
The Squamata will not be able to activate. Oh, he's just going to go ahead and fuse that with the Majesty's Fiend to make the construct. And this is going to be a huge chunk of damage going in.
Yes, and he needs that because he's on 5-9. He's currently behind on life points. So now he can push hard. However, keep in mind that there's a Artifact Sanctum waiting in the back row of Domenic. And I think when Construct is attacking, there's a very, very high chance that this Sanctum will gonna get activated.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you there.
Right, which means that Marcello will not get any damage in, if I'm not all too mistaken, whereas Domenic will have an open field again.
Yeah, and he's already at a life point deficit of 2100 from the early morale attack. Oh well, he's got the Shaddoll Falco
Right.
face down.
Right, so Marcello will probably not take any damage, which is good news for him, but he does still lose his construct, which is getting him back something, or not.
Yeah, because it was super polymerization. He hasn't actually
yes.
used a Shaddoll fusion.
Right.
He hasn't got a Shaddoll spell or trap card in his graveyard.
Okay, so Marcello forced to pass here. His 2 face-down cards, or 3 face-down cards, are the Shaddoll Falco in front of an Compulsory and a Vanity's Emptiness. His problem was he couldn't activate that Vanity's Emptiness because he just drew into it that very same turn.
Yeah, otherwise he'd have been able to equalize and push the life points difference in his favor if he already had that Vanity's Emptiness, but...
So Domenic does have a Blackluster Soldier and a Mathematician, and since Blackluster Soldier's special summon, wow, that's a jawbreak. Since Blackluster Soldier's special summon doesn't use the chain, there's a chance that it might actually hit the field before Marcello flips his Vanity's Emptiness, because there's really no reason for him to do that.
Okay, the only time he's going to flip the Vanity's Emptiness, I expect, is if Domenic tries to send a
Dark Monster?
Shaddoll Falco. I mean, if he sends an Effect Veiler, he's telegraphing that, and Marcello might immediately panic flip the Vanity's Emptiness. Okay, now he goes Squamata Beast, so he's not trying to initiate a special summon.
Yes, and that must look to Marcello like, yeah, that's fine with me.
I still got time. I still got time. I don't know if Domenic has a light monster in his graveyard yet.
Yeah, didn't he lose 1 Moraltag early on? I think that's the second Moraltag from the second Sanctum, so there should be 1 Moraltag in his graveyard.
Ah, you are correct.
Yes, so he does have light and dark, and there it is, Blackluster Soldier, and it might make the difference here. Marcello, no chance to react anymore because, well, the special summon has already concluded, succeeded, whatever you want to call it.
He could use Compulsory Evacuation, so he immediately checks his opponent's graveyard and says, does he have another light monster if I use Compulsory now? Just to hold that Blackluster Soldier off.
Yes, and, well, that is an option, but it's only going to buy him half a turn or something. He's still going to take some damage. Well, he might not, actually. He's got Shaddoll Falco set, so he can bring something back.
Yep. Likely what we're going to see is, if that is the Blackluster Soldier banishing the Shaddoll Falco and 2 direct attacks coming in.
Yes, so crunch time for Marcello. He really has to, well, crunch numbers here and figure out the best play.
Yeah, he's in a bit of an awkward situation because Domenic can summon the Blackluster Soldier again because the Majesty's Fiend is in the graveyard. I'm almost certain that's a light monster. And so if he plays Compulsory Evacuation Device, then flips Vanity's Emptiness after the chain's resolved, he can stop the Blackluster Soldier coming back, but then his Shaddoll Falco will get destroyed. It won't be able to summon anything, and then he'll take a direct attack anyway, and then his opponent can play Blackluster Soldier on the turn after.
The Fiend is, in fact, a light monster, so very, very bad news for Marcello here, and he just, yeah, he's not wasting, so to speak, his compulsory on the Blackluster Soldier.
Yeah, because it just ends up being even worse for him. He ends up in the same position with less cards.
Yes, so he has to take the damage, at least from the Mathematician. The compulsory is now being used on the Moral Attack, which is okay-ish, but with 3,600 life point difference, and the time running out for Marcello, the clock is ticking here, and fast. This is really not looking good for the Italian.
He does have the Monarch Storm 4th and Rise of the Storm Monarch, so he might be able to... Okay, Domenic has... Okay, I'm not sure which card he set, if it was the Sinister Shadow Games or the Morale Tag. I'm pretty sure he set the Sinister Shadow Games. But yeah, the Monarch Storm 4th will allow Marcello to get the Riser down and also deal with the Blackluster Soldier. He's picking up his cards?
Yeah, he's sure, like, this is not going to be... I mean, can he get rid of the Blackluster Soldier once and for all?
I feel like he isn't even going to have enough damage if he does, because we're in end of match procedure.
Yes.
So yeah, he gets rid of the Blackluster Soldier with the Monarch Storm 4th, tributes it, plays Riser, sends a card back, attacks, still at a massive life point deficit and loses anyway. So it's just like, okay, I've thought through all my options. I'm not going to be able to break this. So we're going to go to the final sudden death.
Yeah, that is quite something. So both of these players are not allowed to side deck here. They have to continue playing with the very same decks that they just used. Then again, they already knew that we would be going to time, most likely. So all the cards that are not that useful in that particular scenario with the timeout procedure, all of these cards should have gone to the side deck already.
Yeah, if copies of Burst Rebirth have been left in
the main deck.
Yeah, in the main deck for Domenic, that's going to be horrendously bad for him. And likewise, the same cards in Marcello's deck, if they've left those in, they risk drawing it. They're shaking hands because they know one way or another we are going to have a champion of YCS London
and they also
in 4 turns.
This can go either way. I mean, that can happen, quite a bit can happen with just 5 cards for both of these players. So we're waiting for the cards to load in. Here we go. We got, I've just been told that it's Marcello. So Marcello's hand. Oh my God.
Marcello? We've been getting it wrong all day.
Yeah.
Oh
and
no.
Yesterday as well. So Marcello is starting with Shaddoll Fusion, Mathematician, Shaddoll Squamata, Compulsory, and Wiretap. Whereas Domenic, his hand has a Sinister Shadow Games, Wiretap, Trap Stun, Squamata, and a Shaddoll Fusion.
Okay, Domenic can make that hand work. That seems pretty good. The Squamata, you can just set the Squamata in the Shadow Games. Can disrupt his opponent's play and get something else out of the Sinister Shadow Games. He's got the Wiretap, should his opponent try to hit the Vanity's Emptiness up. He's got the Trap Stun. Yeah, I think Domenic can make that work.
Whereas Marcello is having a little bit of a harder time, doesn't he? I mean, he really wants to go first here, so his Wiretap is going to do something.
Yeah.
Mathematician into Wiretap, as his opening seems pretty good. But he doesn't do that. He instead sets Squamata.
The compulsory could break the game wide open because it can be just one direct attack that makes
all the difference here. Yes,
makes a difference. So yeah.
So that's his opener, and then back to Dominic's hand. He draws Breakthrough Skill. Very good card, but he only has so much time. And he goes for what you telegraphed early on. He's got Squamata together with the Sinister Shadow Games, with the Wiretap, with the Breakthrough Skill now, and a Trap Stun. So he must be feeling not too bad here.
Yeah, the question is, does Marcello take the bet, flip his compulsory here, and try and press for as much damage in his turn as possible? Or
then again, he does have a Wiretap, so he might just think that his wiretap can force through the activation of his compulsory if he needs to.
Yeah, so you can take the time to see what his final information will be before committing to the play.
Yeah, and a Riser, the Storm Monarch, is actually a useful top deck here, isn't it? In the monster, that could be an option at least. Well, the Sinister Shadow Games would still be doing something. So he starts by flip summoning Shaddoll Squamata, and that's getting breakthrough skilled.
This could be bad. Because now there isn't an answer to the Riser.
Yes, that is indeed correct. And question is Marcello going to think of that?
Well, Marcello is considering wiretapping the breakthrough. He's thinking, if I wiretap the breakthrough, I get to destroy my opponent's face down monster, which is my opponent's Squamata, which will trigger.
Yeah, but isn't returning it to the deck much better than this?
I think he's planning on how he can win the game, because he doesn't know what his opponent's face down card is. If he destroys that, he can tribute for Riser, spin a card, then attack directly. His opponent draws that card, can't do anything. I mean, the only way that play doesn't work out is if he wiretaps and his opponent has a Sanctum. Because even if Domenic then sends Squamata and Falco to the graveyard, and then puts the Falco face down, the Riser sends the Falco back to the top of the deck, 2,400 points. Domenic can't just set the Falco again, because then 4 turns have passed, life point difference. So Marcello is deciding, what do I do if I don't have the wiretap for the Sanctum?
Yes.
I mean, he can still do this Riser play here.
Yeah, there are quite some options here. So look at his hand again. Michelle Fusion, a Mathematician, and the Riser. And he's thinking long and hard. Well, it seems like the breakthrough skill has resolved by now.
Yep.
Because it's in the graveyard. So he's fine with that. And now the question is, will he flip? Will he tribute summon Riser?
I think that's definitely the play, to be honest. He has a wiretap to back that up.
Yes, so he does set.
No, he summons another monster to the field.
That's Mathematician. So he now gets to search his deck and send something to the graveyard. I'm wondering if that is the better play here. It is Felice again. And our judge being a little bit faster than the players here, already saying that Felice is on the field, which is going to happen, yes. Fair assumption. And a little bit of a spoiler warning here. So Sinister Shadow Games, wiretap and Trapster, nothing can stop Felice here now, can it?
No, there's nothing there. The Riser play, I'm pretty sure, would have won the game, but at the same time, Marcello couldn't really afford to take the risk.
Yeah. This.
Okay, he's using Felice's effect to destroy the face down monster.
So now he has 2 attackers, which is good in case his opponent had an Artifact Sanctum. And maybe he's also expecting his opponent to have a wiretap of his own, so he's like, yeah, this is the safest bet that I can get some damage in here.
Yeah, this is true. His opponent does, it could go wiretap, and he could lose out to his Sanctum, wiretap, war, which is why this play is considered safer, I guess.
So Domenic really has to think long and hard about what to do here. Again, these are his options. The Sinister Shadow Games, wiretap, and trap stun.
This is crucial. If he makes the wrong decision here, he's out. And Marcello, the luckiest man in London right now, will be walking away with a title. So he has to be absolutely certain that he is making the correct play.
Yeah.
You can see, just looking at his face, he's gone red because he knows the pressure is on this decision.
Yes, there's so much pressure on him at this point in time. And look at Marcello, him baiting him.
He's goading him.
Talking to him, saying something like, hey, come on, make a move, man. You're going to make the right call. And, well, that might not be the case then. And, well, that's something to be expected at this level. You do want to trap your opponent and try to manipulate them as long as it's within the rules of the game. And this is within the rules.
Well, Marcello, he's also, I imagine, you know that feeling you get when you're excited, like you're going to do a bungee jump. You're kind of nervous, but you're excited. He's got that because he knows he's just one step away from winning, and he's in the attacking position. Domenic, on the other hand, has got that horrible feeling like he's going like to visit his in-laws or something, and he's not particularly keen on them, and he's like, oh god, this could go so wrong.
You know that your girlfriend is listening to this, right?
I like my girlfriend's family.
Okay.
That's I'm not relating this to my own life at all.
All right, let's hope nobody else is. So there down goes the monster, the Shaddoll Squamata, and Domenic is left without protection for the time being. That's going to change in just a second when Marcello is going to declare an attack, and Domenic is definitely going to flip that.
He sent us the dragon to the graveyard, so he gets to decide whether or not he wants to use that. He might elect just not to, because he doesn't want to hit a morale attack at this stage. If he hits a morale attack, that's bad. So I think he's actually elected to not use the dragon that was sent to the graveyard by Fleece.
It's interesting. So very different choices that you have to make because of this unique scenario when you are in the timeout procedure. And well, it does make all the difference. I was so convinced that Domenic had a Artifact Sanctum because I kept thinking about that.
Yeah, we were talking about it. He doesn't actually have it. He's
just now. I'm like, he's going to defend himself with the Sanctum, and then Marcello might be activating his Wyatt, and I'm like, oh, wait a second, he doesn't even have that. I just thought this is the train of thought that Marcello is going through. So no defense for Domenic. Now, is there? Oh, he gets to send something to his graveyard. That's
for the effect of Squamata.
All right. But he's going to take damage. It's like, is there anything to stop him from taking damage?
He has Sinister Shadow Games. I think these attacks are coming in.
And this is it. Domenic checking his face-down cards. And this is his hand, Shaddoll Fusion and Dimensional Prison. And it would be wise for Marcello to not attempt to special summon something from the extra deck. Maybe, does he want to, what's Mathematician is a 3-star monster, so there's no cowboy plays or something like that to just push for some more damage.
Yep, so it's 18 plus 15 right there.
There we go, that's a big swing, a very big swing in that state of the game. And Marcello is happy. He has been thinking about what to do after those attacks connected and not wasting any time. Setting a Shaddoll Fusion.
He's grabbed that pen. He's ready to write his victory speech. you can tell. You can sort of just see ever so slightly the corner of his mouth raising because he's sort of smiling. There's a handshake. He knows.
Picking up his cards. And Marcello Barberi, the luckiest guy in London, 33rd place after the Swiss portion of the tournament.
That's incredible. Like, he just went from, oh, I'm out in the final round to, I'm still allowed to play, and he comes and takes down the entire event. That's insane.
That is one of the greatest comebacks in Yu-Gi-Oh! History, and we've seen quite a few things in Yu-Gi-Oh! History. And takes the final. First game, taking forever, but in the end, Marcello finding the key to unlock the lock that was holding Domenic's defenses together, and taking that first game. Second game in the timeout procedure, Domenic ahead on life points. We never know which way it could have gone if we would have been playing for the whole duration. But
yeah, that's just something that happens. We play Yu-Gi-Oh's played within time limits, and the time limit is a part of the game. There's no avoiding that.
Yeah.
So you have to be prepared that some games.
Well, some people might argue something like, "Hey, it's only 7:30 over there. So what's your problem with running another round?" But the thing is, you have to announce that prior to the tournament, as far as I'm aware.
It's unfair to do that, because then when do you draw the line? You go some events, hey, there's a time limit, or in another events, we still got time, it's okay. And that's not fair to the players. The players should know exactly what's going to happen before they sit down at the table. Well, before they even join the tournament, they should know exactly what the structure is.
This is one of the reasons why sometimes we see Mystic Vox getting introduced from the side deck into the main deck for games 2 and a possible game 3. But, well, I think we're losing the focus here, because Marcello Barberi coming close before, top 8 at the European Championship, which is the biggest low of his career, I guess. I mean, it's a great accomplishment to make it to the top 8, but if you're getting knocked out in that round, that means you just missed your flight to a cool place like Rimini or Tokyo or wherever the World
South
Championship
Korea,
is taking place. And well, we've just been told that Marcello will hopefully be available for an interview, for a quick interview after this.
Oh, wonderful.
And we are going to a break? No, we are not.
We do not have the time for that interview, I think is what I'm hearing. I can't understand what Dirk is lip reading.
All right. So, guys, if you've just been joining us, we have seen the stream numbers going up and up and up over the course of the weekend. When you hear the noise
there
in the
it is,
background,
a delayed reaction.
they're like, oh, Marcello won.
It's like when you tell a joke and somebody laughs like an hour later. That's kind of what's happening here.
Right. The largest YCS of the year thus far. There is a chance that YCS Milan in December is going to crush the numbers that we had here. And we are being fed some information here. Yes. We cannot bring another commentator in, I've just been told, which is not a big deal because the two of us can get this job done.
Yes, yes we can.
But I have been told we have some bad news.
Yes. So guys, this is actually going to be my last event for a little while. Don't worry, nothing bad's happened. I've actually been promoted. My responsibilities have changed. And I won't be available as often for doing commentary. So we're going to be having a new commentator in Milan. Well, I say new because we've worked with him before, but Oliver will be joining you, and we'll also have Robert as well. It's been a pleasure. You guys are a great audience. I did bring the green tie. Robert was actually supposed to sit down wearing it. It was going to be like a teaser trailer at the end of the movie, but Robert ruined everything.
Yes.
So I do have. He's actually walked off with my tie. I'm gonna go.
You're gonna chase him now?
Nah, you know what? He can keep it. He needs it. It's lucky. That's a lucky tie.
Did it get you the promotion as well?
I wasn't wearing it when I got promoted, but yeah, I'm going to thank the tie. Well, not my skills or anything, but
congratulations again on the promotion, and thank you for all the work you've put in. No, it's only been 4 times that we've had this stream, but it already feels like half a lifetime, to be honest, and we've come so far, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's every event, it's advancing. We're getting more and more content in. We're being able to interact a little bit more. It's just feeling it out and getting through the technical issues. We've got a great tech crew. They've really come a long way because we're working in certain constraints, and they've managed to move the heaven and earth to make sure some of this stuff works.
They have also upped their game quite a bit. When we first started, we just had feature matches for you, nothing else. Now we have cool graphics. We can give you the standings of the players after a round. We can show you metagame breakdowns in the meantime. We got more interviews in between rounds, so you got some interesting news just this weekend. We had the Ordeal of a Traveler announcement with the exclusive playmat that is being given out. It's going to be given out in Milan.
Yes, in Milan. It won't be sent out afterwards because, let's face it, in order to get it, you have to be in Milan. So make sure you collect it at Milan. It's absolutely wonderful. You've got Dante and some of the Burning Abyss monsters, which have been incredibly popular. It's a gorgeous mat, and very big thank you to everyone who did actually attend all the YCSs this year and made the program such a huge success.
Yes. There's also an announcement on the official site that the runner-ups, so to speak, the guys that only make 4 out of those 5 YCSs, are giving a prize. Do we have any information on that prize?
I unfortunately don't have information to share for that just yet. It's a little something to say, hey, thank you for almost making it. Please don't expect another game mat. That is the final prize. It's a little something to say, hey, you nearly made it. Thank you for trying.
I mean, it's not like everybody's like Alpay Engin, who has to pay 400 euros to get a visa for London, and he's just like, all right, let's put that on the table because I want to make it.
Yeah, he's just like that was just crazy. Blind faith. He'd not even Ordeal Traveler aside. He's like, it's a tournament. I don't know how I'm going to do. 400 for a visa. That's just wow.
So YCS London, 1,200 players. Well, just 5 short of 1,200. Coming up yesterday, 25% of the field, 306 players coming up with Shaddolls, and they have been right. In the end, we got to say they have been right. And picking that deck, it was going from 25% on the first day to 26% on the second day, and that's just the Shaddoll artifacts because they increased, relatively speaking.
Yeah, that was not including all the other archetypes.
And that is another roughly 20% of the field or 25% of the field. So at the beginning of the top 32, half our field was Shaddoll. The other deck that was able to stand up to Shaddoll were the Burning Abyss monsters, and they came really close up to the semi-finals, but that's where they got stopped. And once again, congratulations to Marcello Barberi, your champion of YCS London. We're now going to go to a commercial break.
One more thing before we do that. Actually, I've been meaning to do this all weekend. I got a letter sent to the Konami office from an 11-year-old, Oliver, from Cornwall. And I've not had a chance to write him back yet, but I wanted to actually personally thank you.
It's not my second account or anything. It's
no, it's
a different Oliver.
It's a young man, and he sends, I love the Yu-Gi-Oh, the monster cards, spells and traps. Thank you for creating Yu-Gi-Oh, or I would not have such a good time. My favorite card must be either Dark Magician or number 82, Heartland Drago. He should watch that feature match because it did win a duel. My friends love Yu-Gi-Oh, and we play at school all the time at lunch break, and it's so much fun. P.S. I just got the Yu-Gi starter deck reloaded, but my favorite character is Joey Wheeler, and he thanks us. But it's so nice to receive your letter, and I am going to write you back personally. I haven't gotten to it yet, and I just wanted to let you know I've not forgotten about you, and thank you.
In these modern times when nobody is ever, not even using proper grammar, we have an 11-year-old who sends a letter, and we think that deserves a shout-out.
That's written better than I would have wrote it, to be honest.
Well, so thank you, and thank you all the watchers of the stream that have been staying with us for the whole weekend. We now go to commercial. We're going to be back, so don't go anywhere. We're going to be with the award ceremony. Yes. So we still got some stuff in there in the pipe for you. So see you later. And that's not us heading off. Maybe you heading off because it's going to be your last time.
Yes. I'm sure we'll see each other again, and I will be there to put in the random comments that don't make sense at all and misplays or overthink plays that are actually when there's a better move on the table.
Well, that's why you're sitting here and over there. So let's go to commercial. See you guys a little bit later.
See you soon.